chosen seed of Israel's grace, he ransomed from the fall. Hail him who saves you by his grace and crown him Lord of all. By his grace and crown him Lord of all. Every kindred, every tribe on this terrestrial him all majesty ascribe and crown him Lord of all. Him all majesty ascribe and crown him Lord of all. Oh, that with yonder sacred throne at his feet may fall, will join the everlasting song and crown him Lord of all. Will join the everlasting song and crown him Lord of all. Please be seated. From Genesis chapter 32, verses 22 through 32.
That night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asked him, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome."
In a certain pond there were 2 ducks and a frog who were neighbors and best friends. You probably have learned or read this story, one of those little tales that we tell children. They played together in their little pond, and they lived together during the long summer days and had a good time together. But as the cold winter drew near and the water started drying up, the ducks realized that they will have to move. That's very easy for them, but they can fly up and leave, but the problem is about the frog. They didn't want to leave that frog, their friend, alone there. So finally they decided to come up with a plan that the 2 ducks will put a stick between their beak and then hold each other, the stick, and the frog will hang on that stick with his mouth and then fly away together to a better place, a safer place. And the plan worked out, and the frog hung there with his mouth, and the 2 ducks flew together with the stick and flying over the head, and the farmer looked at it and said, "What an amazing sight that is. What a great idea. I wonder who thought of that." The frog was so proud, and he could not stop talking, so he opened his mouth and said, "I did it." There you go, falling to the ground. Jacob lost his grip during this trip that he took to get a wife, and now he's coming back to his own father's house. He got more than what he wanted. He went there running away from his brother, afraid of his life, because Esau was mad at him because he stole his birthright, and also he stole the blessings from his blind father, pretending himself to be Esau. And we saw that story. So he went to this place, his mom's family where they lived in Padan Aram, and then stayed there to get a wife, and instead of one wife, he got two wives, and both sisters. And how much more can you ask for? If you want one wife, you get two, and they are sisters. And they cannot get along anyway. Now he has all this trouble. Jacob got more than what he asked for. Sometimes people say Jacob was more than married when he left. But he was a very hard worker, still very intuitive and very, very scheming and planning, very hard working man. And his father-in-law Laban noticed that, and he took advantage of him. So you know the story that he asked for his daughter Rachel, who was the younger one, and they negotiated for 7 years to work for Rachel, and then the father gave the first daughter and said you have to work 7 more years to get both of them, and then 14 years. Even then, after that, he would not let him go. He said, I want you to stay some more years, and they negotiated another 6 years, and the 20 years of hard labor. But Jacob was not a person who would give up. He would not give up in times of difficult times. He continues, and he strives, and he struggles. And that's what we see in Jacob, one quality. He never gives up. And God was with him all these through times. God's Spirit was with him. Even when we struggle through our own deficiencies, there is a God who will put His strength in us so that we can continue with the journey with all the shortcomings that we have. If we are mistaken, if we think that we have to be perfect so that God can use us, we are mistaken. There is nobody who is perfect, and there is nobody going to be perfect in this world. In that case, God can find nobody to use for His purpose. We are all people with weaknesses and shortcomings, but in spite of all of that, God will be there to guide us if we trust in Him. And Jacob knows that his father's God was always there, even though he did not pray enough for that. But here he is trying to get out of this situation, and he's tired of it. The hard work, with a lot of stress, then he just wanted to leave this place, and he was trying to find a way to get out of there. But Laban would not let him go. He wanted to keep him because he's a good hard worker. So one day Laban went out for the sheep shearing ceremony or something that they had. For a couple of days he was away from home. And there Jacob decided to leave with everything that he amassed during that time, with his 2 wives, 2 maid servants, and the children that he had there at that time, and also the servants and all the cattle that he had his portion from Laban. And he just left while Laban was away for a couple of days. He thought he left everything and he would be free. Well, no. Laban came back and found out that Jacob ran away. So he gathered all his people and followed Jacob. He would not let him go. So finally they met up again at a place where Jacob was camping, and they made a negotiation. And Jacob was very good at these things. Even in the middle of that, he tried to work out things and have a negotiation and a peace treaty like we just had. So he made a treaty with his father-in-law that, leave me alone. I would not bother you. You would not bother me. And they made a peace agreement that they would not bother him alone. But then again, Laban went back. Jacob has a place to go back to, but he does not know what is waiting there. But he knew what was waiting there when he left his brother with anger and hatred towards him, trying to kill him. And that's what when he left. But now he doesn't know. But that's the only place he can go back to. And now he, with all his wealth and all the cattle and the people that he have, and he is in a situation where between a hard place and a rock, or whatever we say. But he cannot go back being afraid. So he decided to make a plan. So what he did was he came to the Jordan River at the Jabbok ferry, or the place where they had to cross, and then he sent all the people and his cattle and everything, and he shipped everything across the river, and he decided to stay back by himself one night. And there, God appeared to him. Remember the way he went over the first night that he left his family? That one night was a struggle night, but he saw a dream that a ladder was coming up and down, the angels going up and down between heaven and earth. And there was a promise that God made him that he will bring him back. This night where he is struggling while he's on his return journey with all of these stressful things around him, he spent a night alone, but God was there even in his loneliness at that time. When we go through these kind of struggles, and if we can find some space where we can go and spend some time alone, there will be God talking to us if we listen to him. If we can take a time, sometimes it's not easy to take some time quietly in the middle of stressful situations and troubles around us. But that is, as people of God, God has given us this privilege to enjoy his presence in the midst of chaos and confusion. So that is what Jacob did, and there appeared an angel of God, which was apparently God himself, who was struggling, or who was boxing, or who was wrestling with Jacob. A night of wrestling. We go through that nights of wrestling many times in our lives. I have done it. Because of things that are around us and out of control, and we feel like we lost our grip, and we are on our way on the falling to the ground, we call out, God, help me. That's the situation where Jacob is. All his intuitiveness and his cheatings and scheming plans are all now become valueless. He does not have anything to trust onto now, except he called out to God, God, I'm here. I don't have a place to go, but the place that you are asking me to go is a place that my brother is waiting to kill me. Let me know what to do. And he sent all these things outside across the river. Then he also made a plan that he will send all these things that he had, his cattle and his people and the wealth that he amassed during that time, towards Canaan, where his brother was, and tell him that you take all of these things, these are your gifts. And that's the plan he did. Remember, the one who wanted to get everything and to try to gather everything from his brother and stole his birthright and his blessings, and to gather all the things in this world that he can achieve and gather. Now that same person becomes a giver. He's giving away everything back to his brother. And he's trying to give up everything that he thought that was going to bring him success in this world. And he decided to give all of them back to his brother as gifts. What a great change you see in the life of Jacob. So here he is, and then this angel of God, which God himself, coming to Jacob in the middle of night when he was spending that night alone, and started wrestling with him. And they wrestled together, and wrestled for a long time. And by the time the angel of God began to leave, Jacob said, I would not let you go until you bless me, unless you bless me. And then the angel of God asked me a question. What is your name? What is your name? Now Jacob opened his eyes. His eyes were opened. Who was he? He pretended himself to be Esau in front of his blind father to steal the blessings from him. Is he really Esau, or is he Jacob? God is asking him, what is your name? It is not because God did not know, but God wanted Jacob to acknowledge in front of him who himself is. Many times we need to acknowledge ourselves, our realization that we are Jacob and we are not Esau. We are not anybody else. We are ourselves, and go to God, in front of God, as we are. And that opened his eyes and said, my name is Jacob. And God said, from now on, since you have wrestled with God and you have prevailed, your name will be Israel. So the schemer, the trickster, became a prevailer now, because he struggled with God and men and still prevailed. And we know the rest of the story, that God chose that same man when he lost his grip and fell to the ground helpless and called out to God. God came in the midst of that helplessness and gave him the blessing to become Israel, the father of nation of Israel. And the blessing of this world was given through that promise that God has given, because Jacob surrendered himself in the hands of God. That's the presence of God in our lives. Sometimes we miss, like in Bethel, where he actually saw God coming down from heaven, the angels coming up and down through this ladder. He said, God was there, but I did not know it. Here God was there, he did know it. So God is there even when we don't know it. God is there when we know it. In our struggles, in our situations of health, or whatever situations that we are going through, God is there to give us the guidance according to our time, not because of our merits. Sometimes we feel short, and sometimes we feel inadequate and think that God is not going to be pleased. It's not like that. Even in our inadequacies, in our insufficiencies, God's strength will make us perfect. That is what God's grace is all about. We don't have to be perfect, but in our imperfectness, God's grace will make us perfect so that we can be a blessing to this world. Let us call out to God in the middle of confusion and struggles, that God can help us to be a blessing not only in our lives, for our lives, but also for the rest of the world around us. God fulfills His promise. Every promise that He has fulfilled, He has promised He will fulfill. Jacob says that in Genesis, we read that Jacob says, "This was my situation. The heat consumed me in the daytime, and the cold at night, and the sleep fled from my eyes. But there was a God during that night that gave me a better place that I can go to." And the rest of the story is that he went back and he sent all these things to his brother Esau ahead of time, because he was afraid to go in front. And then the change of heart that Esau had, only God can make that. The change of heart in his brother's mind. And he changed his heart and became merciful to Jacob, and they became friends together and brothers again, and they had a good life together. So these are all the things that we learn from our stories in this. Learn from the stories of the Bible, that there is no place that we find ourselves alone. There is always there God guiding us and leading us, if only we could listen and take time to listen to Him. Jacob was very worried about his brother, would not forgive him or would kill him, but God changed the mind of Esau, and only God could do that. Our struggles of faith will make God's plans better. And as we go through our struggles of faith, remember that God is doing a better plan in our lives. So the Peniel is the place where he struggled with God and prevailed. So he called that place Peniel, and he got a new name, Israel. What a blessing that became after that. And then he changed his name to Israel so that it became a blessing to the whole world and the rest of the generations to come. That wrestling match gave him an awakening about who he really was, and now he knew God has a better plan for him and took upon his journey back home. As we go from this place, know that God is guiding us every day of our life, every moment of our lives. No matter where we are struggling by ourselves or with a lot of problems, all night without sleep, God can give us peace. And if only we could listen to Him, that small still voice that comes into our hearts. May God bless you with these words as we go from this place and be at peace wherever we are. Thank you, and God bless you. I have heard thy voice, and it told thy love to me. I long to rise in the arms of faith and be closer drawn to thee. Draw me nearer, nearer, blessed Lord, to the cross where thou hast died. Draw me nearer, 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 blessed Lord. my soul with the steadfast hope, and my will be lost in thine. Draw me nearer, blessed Lord, to the cross where thou hast died. Draw me nearer, blessed Lord, to that precious bleeding side. Oh, the pure delight of the single love that before thy throne I stand. I commune with Christ. Nearer, blessed Lord, to the cross where thou